Did you know that even though there are tens of thousands of words in the English language, you really only need about 3,000 of them to say anything you need to say? I'm teaching 3,000 words in 3,000 days. Stick with me and you'll get a new word every day. Meanings. The first meaning is like this arrow. It has a tip and it is a direction. So pointed can mean sharp, like this arrow is sharp, or a knife is very pointed, can mean sharp, peaked, jagged. Pointed has other meanings though. For example, a pointed comment can be a relevant comment. So another usage of pointed can be relevant, meaningful. It's from the same idea as to the point or make your point. That means say what's really important and don't worry about the rest. What's your point is a way to ask someone to say just what they mean and not all of the extra stuff. So that would be relevant. Another meaning of the word pointed can be referred or mentioned. Signaled, mentioned. He pointed to this this bridge. I'm pointing to it and I'm mentioning it. Now, in the United States, we don't find it offensive to point with your hands. You can point with one finger or two fingers. Walt Disney hated pointing. I'm pointing at people right now. Walt Disney hated pointing with one finger. He felt like it was disrespectful. So if you go to Disneyland, all of the people point with two fingers. It's an interesting little fact. In Latin American cultures, pointing with your hands is very rude, so they point with their lips. And but in the United States, pointing at something is not rude. Pointing at someone is not as kind, but it's not considered super rude either. Pointed. There is another meaning for pointed, and it is aimed. Like if I'm shooting a target, I need to point at it. Nailed. Some words that or some sentences that we might use the word pointed in, we will use it to mean the literal sharpness of something. For example, see my pendant here. This top comes to a point. She wore a necklace with a small pointed pendant that caught the light beautifully. Here, pointed describes the physical sharpness. I'm going to draw a picture for you for just a minute to show pointed. So this circle doesn't have a point, but if I do this, now that's the point, okay? It's a pointed shape. Pointed can be a direct or a critical remark. During the meeting, he made a pointed comment about the company's slow progress on the project. So this use of pointed means a remark that's direct and sometimes critical or meant to highlight a flaw. So a pointed comment might have a little bit of a negative connotation to it. His comments were very pointed. Can be that it was critical. Pointed can be a gesture. The teacher gave a pointed look at the students who were whispering during the lecture. You know that look, right? If you have been in any kind of school as a child, you probably received a look like. It's a pointed look. It's a significant look, often showing disapproval. And pointed can mean emphasized or clear meaning. Her speech ended with a pointed question that left the audience thinking deeply. Here, pointed means sharp, clear, purposeful in meaning. And the architectural shape. So the cathedral's pointed arches are a hallmark of Gothic architecture. So it's used to describe that shape, like I showed in the drawing, the shape where it comes to a point. Another use of point, but not pointed, is if you have a graph. You might have points on a graph, like that is a point. You could have points on a map. And then I would point to that point. Do you see how I used it as a verb and a noun just now? And then that's the point right there. So let's take a look at the opposite of pointed. The opposite of pointed might be irrelevant or blunt, rounded. So this is an interesting one. If someone speaks bluntly, then they are making pointed comments. However, if we're talking about a shape, then the knife is blunt if it doesn't have a point. Interesting, right? So you really do need to know the different meanings of the same word. So rounded rather than pointed, irrelevant rather than pointed. The noun is point. The verb is point. The adjective is pointed. And the adverb, now in these passive adjectives where we have the ed on them, I have usually said that you can't put a ly on the end of them to make them an adverb. That is the general rule. But in pointed, you can. Pointedly. He looked at him pointedly. He, if he wrote a pointed comment, then the comment was written pointedly. Okay? I had to change the structure of that last sentence. He pointedly wrote a comment. Yeah, you could do it that way too. Pointed. I really hope that you enjoyed this word. Use it 5 times today, write it down, commit it to memory. And I'll see you in the next lesson.